guys, we have a special guest, Mr. Joseph Williams.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm great. How are you ladies doing?
Awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening.
I'm blessed to be here with you guys. Some great music you were playing.
We played the classics on here.
That's right. That's right. Only the good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only.
So how are you? I'm going to start differently. How are you coping? And how is your family coping with COVID-19?
It's been difficult, you know, having a wife and two small kids, 2 and 1, you know, it's difficult when you're thinking about yourself, but also in thinking about them. So it's been very difficult. You don't know what to do, what you can, what you can't do. You try to be safe, and then you hear people who have been safe and they still get sick. So it's been difficult, but thankfully, you know, we're here and healthy.
Well, that's good.
Yes.
So how did you become, well, what was your health, I guess your weight loss journey? So where do we start from?
I was going to say, first of all, can we talk about your background, your doctor?
Yeah. Yes.
And
I wear a couple hats. I'm a pastor of a church here in the Atlanta area.
Okay.
And I got into nutrition. I was 330 pounds and tried every diet, didn't work like a lot of people. And I started to educate myself on nutrition, became a nutritionist, and I just started to apply what I use to myself. And I noticed that some things work better than others. And I just lost a dramatic amount of weight in about a year's time, probably about 100 pounds. And many of my congregation, people who were in the congregation, were asking me what was I doing. So here I am 8 years later, and it's just taking on a whole different, another beast and head.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah. I saw your before and after picture. I was like, oh,
yeah.
my.
Yes.
I wish we had both pictures and we showed people.
I know.
Right.
We should have had that up in a little square right there.
Just because it just, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it now, but I mean, it just shows that you transformed like really your whole body. So that's pretty amazing.
Yes.
And with food, did you exercise at all or?
I was always an exerciser. I played football in high school, and going to the gym, working out, that was never the problem. And a lot of people are like that. You know, you see them in the gym and they're killing it and they can't get any results because, as we all know, it comes down to the diet. So when I began to do that, it just, my whole life changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us some of the things that changed. Obviously, you lost the weight.
Right.
What else started changing?
I was able to understand how many emotional issues were leading to my overeating. You know, found myself eating when I wasn't hungry, snacking when I was had just eaten, stress eating, emotionally eating. And when you're happy, you eat. When you're sad, I was just noticing how many of those emotional states were leading to that habit that was leading to my obesity. And a lot of people are in that. So that was probably one of the biggest things that I noticed.
That's probably something that really helps a lot of people because, you know, especially for African Americans,
Right.
We deal with obesity a lot within our community. And I wonder how many people going through the same thing you were, just emotional eating or contribute, their obesity to that as well.
Right. I totally agree. And when I was able to kind of realize that, it just opened up my eyes and was really able to not only see within myself, but help people when I'm working with them, because a lot of people miss that in the whole, when they're changing their lifestyle, they don't really think about spirituality and their emotional status. And those are very, very integral to who we are as individuals, regardless of what your belief system is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were about to say something, Heather. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, I wanted to know, because I think that because we know that this particular disease or virus really adversely affects the African American community based upon all the pre-existing conditions that we do have. And while I know that all of them can't be, cured through diet, how do you reach people, outside of because I think a lot of times people might look at your picture and just think it's a quick fix, as opposed to, like you said, it's a complete lifestyle change, you know, internally and externally. Because I think it's really hard for a lot of people to make that transition. And to me, at this point, it's even more evident because of what's happening with this virus, that it's something that needs to happen now for our community.
Yeah,
I agree. You know, it's sad, you know, to your point, people almost think it's cute. You know, we talk about, you know, quarantine 15, quarantine 20, you know, I'm eating this. It's almost become a joke almost. And, you know, those poor habits are literally killing us. Literally, you know, obesity, diabetes, all the underlying issues. But what I've learned is that education is major. And you can't really be properly educated when a person is just on a diet. If a person's on a diet, you eat this, you don't eat that. But when you're educating people, let them understand why they're doing what they should be doing and why they shouldn't be doing the things that they should not be doing. That's very, very powerful. And a lot of people just don't know. I was so surprised in my 8 years in this field to just realize the things that I thought people knew that they just don't. Bottom line, you know.
Like what? Name like a top
like,
thing.
Like portion size. People in America are completely clueless in terms of what a portion size is. What we think is a portion size is probably 4 or 5 portions if you go to a restaurant of what you should be eating. You know, when you go to, I remember the first time I went to Europe, I was in Spain. Barcelona was the city, and I ordered, you know, some chicken, rice, and vegetables, and it came to my plate. It looked like a appetizer. I'm like, where's the rest of it? But as I was there, I'm noticing everybody's smaller, everybody's slim, and this has a lot to do with it because in America, our context of what a portion size is completely askewed in the wrong way. Yes.
Yep, completely. That's a good point because I'm sure we eat way more.
And they also, you know, the funny thing is that because I've traveled a lot, the funny thing is that in a lot of those countries, those places closed down. So there is no access to eating out in, you know, like in particular places, they have siestas. And so when we would go overseas, we were like, we can't get no food. Like it's shut down. Like, what you mean? Who shuts down between 2 and 5? Like, you know, that kind of thing. And then it's not all night eateries in those places either. So you have less access to that quick fix that a lot of us can drive up to McDonald's at midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning and go get a Big Mac and fries. You know what I'm saying? So that's totally, like, we do completely eat.
That's so true. Different. You're right. I mean, food is everywhere. You know, people eat breakfast and then they're literally eating breakfast thinking about what am I going to eat for lunch?
Right.
They're eating lunch and then what's going to be the snack? You know, what am I going to? So we're in this perpetual state of we're addicted to food culturally, not individually, but our culture. We're overfed and undernourished, and that is a terrible combination.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
So true.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I mean, you sitting up there thinking about lunch when it's breakfast time.
And at breakfast, right?
People eat. Right. I'm like, you're eating a whole half of a chicken for breakfast.
For breakfast.
And with some thick old biscuits like this.
That's right.
I'm like, people don't even think about their colon and that. Like they don't even think about any of those things. And it's just a shame that we aren't more educated on that, or even want to know.
I would be curious to think, because I know for me in the beginning of the COVID, I know that, and I was a workout person, but again, it doesn't really matter about working out if you're eating wrong. And of course I'm stuck in the house. And so I'm off my totally what I would normally, you know, eat. And I gained weight. I mean, of course I'm like, I got to stop at this point. And it wasn't even I won't say for the first time, but this virus really made me be more cognizant of my health as opposed to physically what I look like on the outside, because unfortunately my business, that's a part of it. And so I have to pay attention to that. Can I fit into my costumes? Those types of things. But this virus literally is like, well, wait a minute though. People dying. Like, I need to make sure my cholesterol's right, my blood pressure. I don't want to have diabetes, those types of things. And when you're stuck in the house and you really like, you're not even going to and from work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the refrigerator is your friend. You know what I'm saying? At that point, and I would be curious to see how much weight, unfortunately, people have gained during this time, because I post sometimes my workouts and stuff, because I just do gym workouts now. I still don't go to, you know, the gym. And it's funny, you just never know how you affect people in a positive way. And somebody inboxed me and they said, you really inspire me. They were like, I'm kind of depressed. I've gained 15 pounds during COVID and I don't know, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, literally, just get up and walk. Like, just small steps. You know, and I had to say, well, look, I gained weight too. Like, it's not sweet over here just because. So I think that people, the people are more conscious of their health because of COVID. But I also think that there's some people who are going to put a Band-Aid on it. It's a quick fix, as opposed to the emotional part of why you were overeating in the first place. And then if you add on COVID, then that's a whole nother layer of emotional, you know, stress on you, and you're eating more. So I don't know, are you able to contact people and speak to people during this time?
You know, the way I have worked with people has been all virtually. I do something called 40 Days with Dr. Joe. People come through this process. They don't pay for it, so it's not like I'm here taking advantage of people. So it's all done in a virtual space. And the cool thing about it is people are able to have what they're missing. You know, you have a lot of people that'll start diets and then they'll start and then they'll stop. They don't have the support. They don't have the community. They don't have the guidance. They don't have the infrastructure to help them be successful. So that's how I've interacted with people during the season. Believe it or not, we've had one of the most successful classes that I've done in 8 years during the midst of this COVID season. So yes, to answer your question.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yes.
That is really good. I mean, I think it's so, actually, I know, just coming from a standpoint of having lupus, was diagnosed with it in 2008, and realized probably about 5 or 6 years into it, because I mean, still as a pharmacist, I'm thinking, well, I got to take my hydroxychloroquine, I got to take my Plaquenil, and blah, blah, blah. And then when the new medication came out, I just flat out was like, no, I'm not taking that, because y'all not getting ready anyway. But my whole point is, at some point, the light bulb went off and was like, there's got to be some other way for you to get better and not have these flare-ups, and instead of relying on a medication that's over 50 years old. It just, something doesn't seem right. And I started way back just kind of changing my eating habits and changing, just like eating more vegetables and not as much heavy meats and stuff, and just in the way I cook. Like, so I'm talking to my mom about cooking and she's like, y'all, you did was put salt and pepper in it? And I'm like, and it tastes amazing, doesn't it? And I'm like, I didn't put like 5 tons of Lowry seasoning on it. Like, your hand's gonna be so swole by the time you sit down at the table.
Exactly.
So it's really like fighting, you know, your family and what you raised on and all of that, and just really thinking like, what do I need to do for myself to make sure that I'm healthy? And it's not about anybody else. And I mean, it takes you a while to get there, especially if you have a family, because sometimes you find yourself, like I did, cooking more than one meal because everybody ain't on that journey with you. So it's
is everybody in your household on that journey with you?
Yes.
That's amazing.
And that's very helpful. My wife and I, when we first met, we weren't, you know, we were 2 peas in a pod, but when I started the process, you know, she followed with me, and now she's doing her own thing and helping people. And we're teaching our kids the things that we know, trying to start them off early, establishing a good relationship with food. You know, that's what we really like to teach people, because your food, you need to have a good relationship with it. You need to understand you're getting energy and life from it. So you need to understand the frequency that you need to be eating it, the combinations of how foods come together, and respecting it for what it is, and understanding that you don't have to eat until you're full to be nourished. You know, that's just something that's in this Western context. You know, clean your plate. And that's what we do, generation after generation. So you see so many different health issues based upon habits.
Right. And meanwhile, clean your plate and you can put enough food for Popeye and the whole
Right.
salament.
Right. Exactly.
But that, like, the thing about it is when everybody, unfortunately doesn't have the liberty to travel to different places. But when you said, the amount of food that we have on plates as opposed to, and I mean, like Cheesecake Factory, they gonna feed you to death. They give you so much food. I'm like, God dang. And in that mindset, you do think, just like you said, I gotta finish my food. And the funny thing is which my grandmother, she has since passed away, but up until she was like 92, 91, she ate like a football player. And she would literally think that, and at that point, you can't really consume that kind of food. And I remember at Cheesecake Factory, we were like, you don't have to eat all of it. And we had to take the plate away from her. Like, you're not going to get sick. And she's 90. So of course that was something that was probably etched in stone, in her brain from being raised that way.
Yeah.
So I, like I said, I feel like, I think it's awesome that you guys are changing people's lives, like one person at a time, one day at a time. But you don't have a crystal ball, but what is your outlook on the African American community when it comes to health and fitness? How far do you think we have to go? And do you think that we're going to get there?
That's a great question. I think, the African American community is really, we have a lot of great things in our community, but we're really missing a health champion. There's no one and no organizations there that are really representing the overall health and wellness of African Americans from the vantage point of lifestyle. Now, you see all of the vegan eateries, and all of those things are great. However, there are many vegans who are just as obese as those who are eating meat. And because they're eating so high volumes of grains, breads, starches, things of that nature. And they have this kind of fictitious feeling that, because I'm a vegan, that I'm that much more healthier. Well, I'm not saying that you're not, but we have to look at it from things like that. So it bothers me that we don't have more people that are trying to, what I do what I'm trying to do. You have a lot of people that are selling supplements. I tell people all the time, you can't supplement yourself to good health. You can't do it. People saying, well, what about sea moss? What about vitamin C? All of those things are great, but it starts with, are you exercising? Are you getting proper amounts of sleep? Are you lowering the amount of stress in your life? Are you eating correctly? Things of that nature. So it bothers me, but at least I feel that I'm in the field that is needed within our community. So that's all I can really affect. And I hope it gets better. And I think it will, because I think African Americans are now understanding poor health is no longer an option. We have to.
Yes.
Bottom line. All right.
So what do you have coming up next before you get out of here?
Well, we've got another session, last session, and it's people are registering now, and we start at the beginning of September. We pre-orientate people, prep them, then we start at the top of October, and they'll be finished 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. So we're excited about another session coming up.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
So make sure, tell everybody where they can find you before we get out of here.
Okay.
Yes.
If you can find me on Instagram at Dr. Joseph Williams, and on Facebook at Dr. JLW. And for the program, you can go to 40dayturnup.com, and that's the actual number 40turnup.com, and all the information is there.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. It was lots of good information. I hope our listeners take heed. If you're ready to change your life, make sure you reach out to the good doctor here. So thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thank both of you for having me.
A lot of great information. Thank you again.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
We're going out with a song, guys. We'll be back.